Hi everybody, Bob Bloom. Glad to have you back. Webaforce members, good job being with us. We're in our video series on asset protection, and if you recall, asset protection consists of three subheadings. It is tax reduction, lawsuit protection, and estate planning. We just talked a minute ago about estate planning, wanting to use a living trust to avoid probate. Living trust also can help reduce state inheritance taxes in an important way, but that's a little beyond what we're talking about here. Let's talk about lawsuit protection entities. This is a generic term, and by that I mean there are a few very specific legal tools, depending upon the state, that would fall into this category. I'm going to talk today about the granddaddy of them all, the one that started this, the one with the most settled law, and it's called a family limited partnership, or for short, a limited partnership. All right? Now, limited partnerships are found in our laws under Section 704 of the Internal Revenue Code. They're nothing new. They've been around since 1916, and that means for over 90 years. Our courts have been ruling on cases involving limited partnerships, and if you've never heard of a limited partnership before for some reason, you can be assured that our courts are very familiar with how well this tool protects you. Now, in a limited partnership, there is a general partner and a limited partner. Typically, the general partner is you and your spouse. Limited partners are typically kids or grandkids. And it's done this way because the general partner always has 100% control, and that's you. Now, the interesting thing is, this is very commonly the way it's set up because families have assets. They want to protect those assets. They have a family business, perhaps, and they want to protect the family business. It's a real estate business or who knows what, and they simply want to protect the assets of the business, and they use this tool on a very common basis. Now, this is often the way it's set up, but there are variations here as well. Oftentimes, the general partner will be a corporation. Limited partners could be a corporation. It might be a living trust. A limited partner might also be a limited liability company. So, literally, there are many, many, many good and thoughtful ways that we could set this up. And how it's specifically set up in your situation will depend upon your individual facts and circumstances, all right? But there's a lot of flexibility here as to how we would set this up. All right, now, to get our assets protected, we need to move our assets into this protective tool. So let's take a simple asset we all own, and we'll put it here and see how this works. We all own typically a savings or checking account, and so think of this. If you own a savings or checking account in your name and someone sues you, they can take all your money. If you own your savings or checking account in joint tenancy, let's say, and they sue your joint tenant, they can take all your money. And if you own your life savings in a living trust and they sue you, the trustee, they can take all your money. And so if you don't want someone taking your money, we put our savings and checking account in our family limited partnership, and our stocks, bonds, mutual funds, T-bills, CDs, money market accounts, they are now protected by our limited partnership. So when someone sues you, they get nothing, and you've protected every dime of your life savings. All right? Now, for those of you who invest in real estate is what we call a high liability asset as opposed to a stock or bond or a savings account, because nobody's ever going to have a slip and fall on a savings account, all right, or a stock or a mutual fund or a bond, all right? These are low liability assets, while on the other hand, real estate is a very high liability asset. Now, real estate, let me put it this way. I ran into a guy the other day, and he said, I own 25 rental properties. What do you think of that? And I said, well, that's good. I said, but how do you own them? And he said, well, in my name, but here's the problem. He said, last week, the cops raided one of my homes. He said, it turned out one of my renters was running a meth lab in the back bedroom. He said, if this dirtbag sold this junk to some kid and hurt a kid, could they sue me? And the answer is, you bet they can sue. And when they sue him, they could literally take potentially everything he owns. They could take all 25 rental homes, they could take his life savings, take his home. He loses it all because he had, for a legal structure, James, all of his eggs in one basket. And isn't that typically what we do? Is put all of our eggs in one basket. And so, if this is not what you want to have happen, here is a very important rule I'd like you to write down, and that is never own investment real estate in your name. Never own investment real estate in your name. Now, let's dig deeper and consider why that's such a bad idea based on what you already know. If the real estate is titled in your name, tell me quickly, who's the legal owner? You. And if you're the legal owner, how much liability are you going to have when something goes wrong? Typically all of it. And by the way, in real life, how much do you actually control what your renters are doing on your property? None. So if you have your real estate in your name, here's what you've done. You've given yourself zero control and 100% liability. And that, my friends, is a terrible legal structure. And I might add, you're going to lose this game, and it's not because you don't have a good offense. You're out there buying real estate, you're making money, you're going to lose the game because you have a bad defense. All right? It's your legal structure that's bad. Now, for this reason, you do not own investment real estate in your name. We're going to own that investment real estate in a far stronger tool, and that protects the real estate from your liabilities, and better yet, protects you from the liabilities generated by the real estate, and that will be in a limited partnership, or more likely a lawsuit protection entity of a very specific choosing. All right, so real estate is protected with a lawsuit protection entity as well. All right, now people will often say, well, wait a minute. Why did I go to a lawyer and the lawyer set up a corporation and they put all my real estate in the corporation? Why'd they do that? And the answer is, I don't know. That's a terrible idea, because we already know that corporations do not protect the assets owned by the corporation. They don't. They sue the corporation. That's exactly what they take. All right? So we're going to use a corporation to manage the real estate. That's the operating company, the one that collects the rents, the one that, maintains the property, the one that has the lighting at night, the one that, shovels the snow if you're in the north, the one that, gets good tenants versus bad tenants. But we're not going to own the real estate in the corporation because it's vulnerable there. We're going to own the real estate in a far stronger tool, and that will be in that family limited partnership or a lawsuit protection entity of another stripe. And folks, now we have protected the business assets. All right? Now, the second loophole is this. You have a corporation, but that's all you have. They sue the corporation, and they also pierce the corporate veil. They can now take your personal assets. And so, folks, if this is not what you want, we need to protect those valuable personal assets with that most powerful legal tool there is, so we have our personal assets in our family limited partnership, so even if they pierce the corporate veil, they get nothing, and you've protected all of your personal assets. All right, a third big loophole is if you're an officer or director of your corporation, they can sue you personally for what the company does wrong. So think of this. Where would you like your personal assets to be? In your name, in joint ownership, or in a family limited partnership? And in a family limited partnership, they can sue you until the cows come home and they get nothing. And you've protected your personal assets. All right? Now, one last thing. For those of you who are stock, bond, Forex, options traders, that's terrific. You're going to have a trading account. But understand, if the trading account is in your name, if it's in joint tenancy, if it's in a living trust, and they sue you, they can take your trading account. So far better, we put it into a lawsuit protection entity, and now it is protected. All right? So people will look at this and say, Bob, Do I have to put everything I own in a family limited partnership? And folks, the answer is, we'll cover that in our next video. I want to thank you Webaforce members for being on this video series. We're going to continue talking about lawsuit protection. We're in this topic of asset protection. And folks, stay tuned. Webaforce members, we're here to help. So, talking next time about how we protect our assets.